recording in progress. Yes, indeed. That's you, Christopher. That's who I'm talking about, right? So anyway, I see Sarah Biggs has checked in and Roger Nellis has checked in. And Mr. Tony Perkis has checked in. Oh, and Vera Donchenko. Do you speak Ukraine, Elena?
No, I don't.
I see.
Did
Well,
I?
Vera Donchenko speaks Russian, and she is the host of much of what goes on in Washington, D.C. at the Russian Embassy,
Oh, I see.
the Russian Chamber Society, and I will tell you all about Vera. She is known as an opera coach at Peabody Conservatory
Oh,
and
wonderful.
works with major artists, as you can guess. I'm thrilled that she could be here today.
Thank you.
And also, Vera Donchenko's brother, late brother, who sadly recently parted from us, was a major violin coach at Curtis Institute in Philadelphia. So we have some very auspicious, and suspicious and auspicious people with us today. So anyway, Elena, I'm thrilled that we could make this happen in this world, and this was a bit of an experiment because well, everything is an experiment, as we know, but because we're doing this transatlantic, and I wasn't sure with timing how that would work because we're usually on Monday nights. So anyway, I'll kick it over to you. So maybe tell us what you've been doing over the last year or so, for starters.
Hmm. Well, the last year, as we know, has been rather different to all other years. And it all started with sort of dropping our arms and thinking, well, that's it. There's nothing we can do. A bit disappointing because, of course, several tours have been planned and the artists have been preparing and everything has been booked. I think, has been especially painful for our general manager, Sarah Biggs, who has been preparing absolutely everything meticulously as she always does, and then suddenly everything is going out of the window. But then little by little, especially once the restrictions have been a bit eased, things has started to happen, and the first thing that was made available to us was St. Mary's Perivale, where we could gather in minuscule numbers in order to do a live performance for which the artist could be paid, and of course that would be a proper engagement for which actually could be heard by many more people than could fit in the church. So in some ways that development has been a revelation because we can carry on doing some of that even when normal life hopefully will be restored one day. So yes, we have been busy recording at least once or twice a month, if not more than that. Sarah will probably correct me here. In a church, also at St. Matthew's in Ealing, and lately at Steinway Hall, and even at Blutner in London, where we could have two trustees, our recording producer, Roy Emerson, who is our unfailing knight, and Sarah occasionally when she was allowed, and the artist, most importantly. And we had a wonderful time having very private concerts, which were then recorded and relayed to our audiences on our website and on YouTube. And actually, in terms of numbers of audiences, this kind of arrangement has been incredibly successful. So there are some small mercies and some things to be grateful for sure.
Well, we've been very fortunate to be part of that change of paradigm with the live streams from St. Mary's in London. and tied in with the Arts Club here in Washington. Um, it's always perilous, as we always know, but it does get done, and we get these international audiences, you know. So um, with Dinara, we had Eastern European audience with George um, George X Fu. We had a lot of audience from Taiwan, from the West Coast, around this country and Europe.
Hmm.
Um, and for what it's worth, we had a Japanese artist on the jazz series, and we sold something like 25 or 30 tickets in Japan for the live stream. So we've learned to cherish and stay connected to that now worldwide audience, and I'm guessing you're the beneficiary as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
So are things opening up there? What's it look like over the next year?
Well, it's very hard to say at the moment. From what I gather, there are some experiments happening in some places, like Royal Festival Hall has had a few concerts with very strict numbered attendance and regulated movements around the place. And some theatres are now starting, most infamously, um, the the person who complained most about it, Andrew Lloyd Webber. So his his theatres are opening up as an experiment, um, and it's very hard to predict, of course. And I think for now we're just bracing ourselves to basically carry on as much as we did if the last year or so, and as soon as we're able to, it's full go ahead. Um, as much as we can, given, of course, all sorts of other restrictions like Brexit.
So, in short, how has Brexit changed? Has that made travel for your artists a problem?
Well, it was an open door before, and now it has to be, you have to prove you're not an elephant before you can come in. So, as a Russian, and I'm sure people who are not native to their countries of residence will testify, it is a bit of a nightmare. Wherever you go, you have to prove that you're not going there to beg or get onto their um, government system of benefits and so on. So before we can just go to Germany, go to Italy, go on multi city tours, on multi country tours, even. And now it's going to be way more complicated because every country needs to know what we're doing and why. I mean, it's still to be found out just how complicated it will be. Hopefully, you will be able to just fill in a waiver on the border, like in France, for instance. But that's still to be seen. And if the artist is not let through on the border, then you can imagine that's a little bit of a problem. Um, so that's our main problem looking forward, really, because we were relying on the fact that we can go to places quite freely, at least in Europe. In America, in fact, it has been part of consideration in terms of which artists to send, whether they will be able to get a visa soon enough and easily enough.
Right.
Sometimes their nationality, like being from an Arab country or a Jewish country or a Russian country for that matter,
The
has
country.
been, yeah, we,
Mm.
we had some nail biting situations when we didn't know if things will happen. And in fact, in some cases, they didn't happen. So we had um, other artists stepping in that were already in the US. So there will be more of that basically going ahead.
Yeah, yeah, it may change your model a little bit. I know that, I mean, it's barely related, but here in Washington, like in London, we have all the embassies, and they all like to present their own cultures, which means a lot of concerts. especially at certain embassies, Japan, France,
Mm.
um, England, Germany, Turkey. Uh, so what they do is they find artists that live in New York or LA so they can pay $500 for the airfare or $30 for train fare, even better.
Yeah.
Uh, and that solves that problem for them. By the way, Gerald, are you able to hear me by any chance? Um, Maybe I'll get to Gerald later, because there is a friend of ours who has just launched a 110 concert tour of Germany, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic and Slovakia,
Mhm.
and Poland and Austria. Um, do you know Gerald? Do you know Walter Fischbacher by any chance?
No.
He's a Viennese pianist, jazz pianist, and has a long relationship with people like Peter Dvorsky,
Mhm.
um, and then the famous trumpet player, jazz trumpet player in Prague, older guy. Anyway, he's just put together a 110 city tour that he's beginning. You can go see him at any club there in Prague, plus all these towns I've never heard of all over Eastern Europe.
Wonderful.
So somehow he's able to do that, and I'm not sure how he pulls it off. But part of it is that although he lives in New York, he still keeps his EU passport.
Well,
Um,
that's lucky. Yes,
yeah, yeah.
it's very handy.
So, but Elena, much of what the Keyboard Trust is doing is really, I think, the main work, and I think that everybody would like to know, and I want to hear from Sarah also about this, is that you are selecting artists that you like, that you think have a future, and that you think um, that you can help develop. And I
Mhm.
know that the I guess the founding artistic director, Noreta Conchi, when I speak to her, she's very proud of the fact that she picks people at the Chopin competition who were not selected by the judges. She has her own she has her own view on who she wants to back to be standing with. So, but I'm sure that must be continuing, isn't that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the beauty of this trust is that although we are acting as a very professional and very how would you call it? Forgot the word. I was thinking Russian. Um, Ambitious. That's the word. Ambitious agency. We're not actually an agency. So we're not being paid for the success of the artist or by the success of the artist. So we can afford to find the artists that don't necessarily fit into the straitjacket of our competition. Quite often in competitions, you find that the person who wins obviously has the right people in the jury, for one, and for two, haven't managed to upset anybody by their especially interesting playing, which basically means that I wouldn't call them mediocre, of course, not really, but it perhaps wouldn't be the most outstandingly individual person.
I think it is the media. We always used to say the most mediocre pianist wins.
Well, it's not very often that you get Mitsuko Uchida as your winner, right? So quite often it happens that the best people come off the second round. They just don't even not even being led through to the finals, or in the finals they get third or fourth prize, and and therefore that's the moment when Loretta used to come in and say, can you come and play for me? Because of course those people who got the third and fourth prize would not be getting the same number of concerts after the competition as the first and second prizes would, um, and therefore that very well deserving and rather unusual talent that got the third or fourth prize would get the benefit of Keyboard Trust's trust and belief in their talent. And I think Naretta's main concern was not just the obviously technical brilliance and confidence in performance and charisma on stage, but most importantly, it was the poetry in performance, poetry in their thinking, musically, living in the music, and really, really communicating deeply from within. And that is certainly what we're continuing to look out for today. And it's in a way quite lucky because the three of us, the three artistic directors, have in different ways been connected to Naretta. Leslie Howard has been her pupil, was she a student for a very long time, and her associate in many ways. And with his incredible experience and knowledge, he's remarkably able to tell from the first few notes who is who among the young artists. And Christopher Axworthy likewise has the most amazing experience of rubbing shoulders with every notable musician of our time. Also partly thanks to his theatre in Rome that he and his wife built together. And Keyboard Trust has been a frequent performer at that theatre. And I have been basically going through the ranks of basically starting from the very beginning of an artist's life within the trust. I have met Narette at one of the concerts that I organized at the Royal Academy of Music where I was studying. And it was, I think if I remember correctly, it was a charitable concert, a free concert basically, to remember 100th anniversary, not, was it 100th anniversary of Richter's, I can't remember now, 100th anniversary of Richter's birthday, I think. And one of the things I was playing was Prokofiev's Sixth Piano Sonata, which I came to absolutely adore. And a friend brought Naretta to that concert, whom she met at a dinner. And she came up to me at the end of the concert and said, "Will you come and play for me?" And I didn't know who she was, and I thought, what a lovely woman, and of course I'd love to. And so it started. Before I knew, I had a concert at the Steinway Hall, and then I went to Germany, and then Italy, and then New York. New York was the only venue in the US at the time, but that was a very memorable occasion. And yes, warming up on Rachmaninoff's own fortepiano. That was quite amazing. So yes, it was quite extraordinary to go through that process as an artist. So I really know the insides of how it works, what it feels like for the artist as well. And I think the special thing also about the trust is that the artist is really taken care of on a very individual level. So one of us travels with the artist wherever they go, whether it's in Italy or in Germany, where Moritz von Bredau really takes care of the artists. He has taken a lot of effort expanding our web of venues in Germany, and it's all his individual contacts that he manages beautifully, and so he takes care of the artists there. And so the first steps that the young musicians are making in making a tour, which can be a rather taxing experience, as I'm sure Brunette will agree, you they're doing it in a very caring environment, and you know, where the breakfast might be brought to you, and if you're too cold, you might even be taken to a shop to get your coat, like happened to me in New York. I looked at the forecast, and it was sunny, 23 degrees, and of course when I arrived it was raining all the time and at about 12 degrees. So by the
That was
time I
part of
landed,
the plan. That was their way of welcoming you.
I'm sure, as Russians say, good luck comes after the rain. So there we go.
Right.
A lot of that.
Hey,
So
Elena, I'd like to. You had sent me a couple of clips
yeah,
that we want to have a look at. Let's start with the. Is he from the Netherlands? The harpsichordist. You'll have to.
he's French.
He's French. Okay, which is why he was actually here at the French embassy some time back. If you could talk about him a little bit and how things got started with him, and then we'll go to a. I'll share a clip with the gang here.
Sure. Well, Jean Rondo is a young harpsichordist. I first heard about him from a friend who is an agent, actually. And she said she's heard him somewhere and he's somebody to look out for. So I Googled him straight away and heard him online. And I thought I would really love to hear him live. And he's one of those people you see, usually people get into harpsichords when they're quite a bit older, have done certain training on the piano, and maybe at the conservatoire level they might get acquainted with the harpsichord and find that perhaps it's a little bit easier than playing Rachmaninoff's Third Piano Concerto. So with Jean Rondo it was different. He actually really fell in love with the harpsichord once he's heard that instrument on the radio, and he found surprisingly a wonderful harpsichord teacher just down the road, and so it started. And he is winner of some prestigious competitions, which is great for him, and he has really made his own path, as you I'm sure will notice in the video. The Goldberg variations that you will hear a part of was a project, a very new project that he brought on his tour to UK when he first came, when Keyboard Trust brought him over, and he played at Handel House, at Hatchlands Park, elsewhere, I think, and he was playing his first performances of Goldberg variations were there, which was a little bit of a gamble on our side in terms of programming, because some people prefer just to hear their Goldberg creations in certain performances and that's it, and to hear a young and unknown artist play that is not everybody's cup of tea. So but he certainly made his mark, and it was obvious that he's brewing something very, very interesting when he was performing it. And then since then he has played it extensively and recorded it, and so we can hear a part of that recording, not made by us sadly, but this is a professional recording he's made of the Goldberg variations.
Okay, so we're going to try to go to that. Sharing screen is always an adventure, so let's see what we can do.
Can't hear you, Burnett.
I hope that worked okay for everybody. You could all hear Jean
Yes, it
Rondo.
would. Mhm.
Hang on a sec. There's always excitement when you do screen shares. So tell us more about Jean Rondo and when did the trust start their relationship with this guy?
Whew. Um, 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, really? And so I'm guessing you were involved in the
I
selection.
well, I was because we had basically a peaceful transfer of power from Loretta and John to the current set of individuals who are running the trust in one way or another. Because if you can imagine, John was single-handedly running 60 concerts a year with Loretta heading
Mm,
the artistic directorship. Um, with all the artists and listening to every single note they played and everything. So at some point they felt that was a bit much, uh, and started thinking what to do next. And after a few different variants have been considered and tried, the current arrangement has been achieved, which seems to be working rather satisfactory to all, I think. And at the same time, we started a new branch to the Keyboard Charitable Trust. It used to be just the pianists, and since I was involved, and my second passion after piano is harpsichord and all kinds of historical instruments, um, we thought, why not include that as as a branch to the trust, since we don't even have to change the name, so they're all keyboards. Seems logical. And we were already helping some organists occasionally who play at the Temple Church, and the latest collaboration is the Westminster Abbey, I think. So that will be, that seemed to be a logical continuation. And also there seemed to be a great need, because it's not very easy to get performing in England from outside the UK. Um, Partly because the venues pay very, very little for the artist, for the performance. Because, for instance, in Handel House, there are only about 25 seats. Um, so, you don't get a lot of ticket returns from that many people coming. Um, Other places like Fenton House, which is the most wonderful collection of instruments, they can prepare almost anything for you to perform on, which is just amazing for performers, but they also don't pay a lot of money. So when the trust comes in, we are looking after the travel arrangements, either from within UK or from abroad, which doesn't eat away the little money that they get paid as fees. And occasionally we even add on to some more respectable fee for the artist. So that seemed to be a rather good arrangement. And then
well, Elena, I have to interrupt to mention that we knew that, and when
okay.
Iyad Sugayer was here, he really he brought the house down. By the way, for those who were not there, he played at the Arts Club to a packed house, and he started with Mozart A minor sonata. What else did he play before he got to the Cacciatorian? There was some other piece. List. Oh, he did List Funérailles. It was
Mm-hmm.
great. It was really good. But the thing that really killed the house was the Cacciatorian.
Yeah.
And myself, because nobody knew this music, and he was so effective to
Mm-hmm.
bring music that nobody had heard, that he had a huge impact
Mm-hmm.
on the audience. But I only bring up Iyad because we knew of the thin margins that this was going on. So we got him together with Chris Schmidt. Chris Schmidt brought his Chris Schmidt is a doctorate from Juilliard in piano,
Mhm.
the Marine pianist. So he's the main pianist for the White House, if you can wrap your brain around
Wow.
the main classical pianist. And he's a terrific artist. So he came by at 10 o'clock the next morning and picked us both up in his convertible sports car and took us bar hopping at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I think that Iyad was properly welcomed to Washington and
Wonderful.
compensated in that way. So.
Yes. That's a wonderful story.
So,
Yes.
Elena, I wanted to, if we could hear just a word, I don't know if it's possible to get just a word from Christopher, but
Yes.
Christopher and I actually met at Castleton when he arrived with Emanuele Rimoldi,
Mhm.
a brilliant Italian pianist. So, Christopher, what do you, maybe is there some, I wanted to ask you a particular question, maybe what performances are looking like in Italy, if there will ever be a live performance again in Italy?
Oh, there have been 3 or 4 today, and a lot of them aren't streamed, unfortunately. So I can't get to all of them all at the same time. There was one, the Pordenone Piano Festival, one of our pianists, Elia Cecchino, who's going to come and play for us in London, but he can't come to London at the moment because of the quarantine rules, which would mean that he would have to stay a week in London to play, and it's still complicated. But there's so many concerts here in Italy. There was one this morning which was on Liszt's piano. Someone played one of our pianists, Maurizio Baglini, played the Beethoven Ninth Symphony in the Liszt arrangement. And at the same time, this evening in the Aurice Palace, they were doing the Telephone by Menotti. Daniele Gatto now is on the television live from the Villa Borghese in Rome. The concerts are opening up here in a very big way. There's limited audience, of course. There's maybe 50 or 70% capacity. Everyone is wearing these masks, which looks very grotesque. But it's part of the law here that they haven't abolished the law that people are allowed not. You're supposed to wear a mask always, even out in the street. And they're trying to get rid of that now because the COVID is being very well looked after. Everyone's being vaccinated, and because the sun's shining, I think for the moment we've got there's a break from the COVID. I think in the winter it will start up again, from what I can hear. But for the time being, the sun is shining, people are playing, and life is good. Basically,
well, that's great.
So I've no intention of going back to London at the moment. So that's just long and short of it.
You mean even if they would let you in? Is that what you mean?
So, no, they would let me in. They wouldn't let me out.
They would. Oh.
They wouldn't let me out. I was in London for 7 months.
I see.
You were
they
not
wouldn't let you out. Oh.
You were not allowed to travel unless you had a contract or some specific reason.
Right.
And I didn't bandy the place that I have a theatre in Rome because the theatre was shut anyway. Right. And the fact, so I just waited until the sun came out. And when the sun came out, they abolished the rules about quarantine, and everything was quite simple. I just arrived on the plane, came back home, and I'd been here living in the sunshine, having a wonderful time. And I listened to a lot of concerts, like listening to your lecture now, on streaming. But unfortunately, because it's quite expensive to stream, Zoom is not, but streaming concerts very well is quite expensive. They decided to abolish all of that, which means, for me, it means I can't see all the things that I would like to see. We have a pianist tomorrow, Giovanni Bertolazzi, who's one of the great pianists of our time. He's only 22. He's playing in Bologna, but I can't get there tomorrow because on Tuesday, I'm going to Angela Hewitt in Perugia. She's playing the Mozart K488 concerto.
Oh, cool.
And she has suffered a lot because she normally plays 100 concerts a year. And I think she's played maybe 17 last year.
Sure.
She's now cancelled. She cancelled her festival last year. She's now just announced she's starting her festival on the 24th of July in Perugia, in Lake Trasimeno. And things are getting back to normal, thank goodness. Or slightly limited, but music is everywhere. Thank God for that. Music will be our savior.
Christopher, I'm going to move on to Vera Donchenko. Vera, I'm sure you have maybe a question or an answer for Elena today.
First of all, I have to thank you and bow, to everything what the society did and does. And for us who had an education in Moscow at my time, admiring live concerts of Richter and Gilels and Safranitsky and the giants like that, actually we have them as our mentors at the conservatory. Particularly my experience was with Emil Gilels. Anyhow, that's absolutely fantastic to nurture and to help a new talents. See, I didn't say new names because names could be temporary, but the talents, this is what I guess it's our measure for everything, and to help people who may not be born to compete. That's what I like a lot, because for example, Vladimir Safranitsky was not ever born to compete in the competition, and it's a rare pianist who could be compared with the Safranitsky now, of course, all in the recordings. But you have to have something special in your character, in your stamina to compete. And it doesn't make you lesser musician or person to whose concert we're going to be rushing and happy to hear. So that's my comment of really great compliments, and with the wish of continuing to be healthy and to have enough energy to overcome any obstacles. We have a lot of them, but as has been mentioned now, music is a savior. So thank you. Million thanks to all of you for everything what you're doing, and viva la music.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's, we would not be able to do any of this without our wonderful audiences. And collaborations like the one we have with the Washington Arts Club is incredibly precious. And when we actually physically bring the artists and have that, contact, and as you say, what happened with IAD, that involvement from all parties, from all our collaborators, that's how it's done, basically. Couldn't do it on our own.
Elena, I want to move on to Chloe, who I did hear at Castleton, and she is a knockout. She did the symphonic variations of Schumann.
Yes.
And she did maybe Bach there. I can't remember what else was on the program.
Yes. Christopher and I heard that at Steinway Hall. We were the two ADs present.
Oh, I see.
We looked at each other with big eyes, like, oh, this is such a jam.
Yeah.
And you were in tears, Elena, at her Wigmore Hall recital. I remember you going backstage and you were literally in tears. Yeah.
I was incredibly moved. We're talking of somebody who is a true poet, and she just embodies poesy in music.
Yeah.
With every movement.
Tell me, what else was on that program? Do you remember? Maybe a Liszt transcription or something?
No, I don't think it was Liszt. I can't remember. I know she played Schumann. I remember the Schumann very well. And Bach she played. I know she ended with the Capucin jazz study. I do remember that, and I remember you recorded it too. You gave me a nice recording of that concert.
I should be able to tell you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I should too, but I hear so many pianists. I can't remember. I remember. I will never forget her Beethoven Opus 110, which she played in the Wigmore Hall. That I will never forget, and I think Elena's the same. That was memorable.
Speaking of which, we are not going to hear that. We are going to
well, thank you about it. Yeah. That's a bit like Mitsuko Uchida said, it's better not to record everything because it's better to keep it in your memory, because the memory is much more precious than recording.
It is recorded. I decided to present something a little more splashy.
May I just mention, if anybody would like to hear it, it's on the YouTube Keyboard Charitable Trust channel.
Oh, so good. That's nice.
Browse through that, and the whole performance of audio recording of that performance is on the YouTube.
Okay. Gerald says, "Is he talking to me? Are you talking to me, Gerald?" about muting the recording while was I coughing or spitting or something during the, anyway, here we go. We're going to try to get Chloe up here.
Yes.
That was a great choice.
Wake us all up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So we haven't heard from Sarah today. Sarah, we've been working on these. We've done now 4 live streams. Jonathan, George, and so 3, and Dinara Clinton. We've done 3 live streams, and one way or another got them all to the audience.
Yeah.
3 great
I
pianists.
think one way or the other is
Right.
the operative word. Yes, we had a big outage of the broadband for poor Dinara, who was in this church playing her heart out.
Yeah.
And I had Burnett texting me saying, "It's not coming through. It's not coming through." And it turned out to be half of London had got an outage. I mean, of all things, but. Burnett, you're very keen to do live events, which I sympathise with. There are risks, however.
We're starting, by the way, at the Arts Club, the jazz series that's coming up in October. We are doing hybrid. The room seats 100. I don't want to be in that room with 100 people, but we'll have some kind of live audience as well as live stream because we want to keep our international audience. So I'm curious, whenever we can get a keyboard trust pianist over, we'll throw them to the wolves with a live audience.
Thank you, Burnett. We hugely appreciate your collaboration, and we hope maybe May next year would be good if we can make it.
Let's hope that it does. So Elena, actually. Tell us, what is Chloe doing right now? Are you staying on top of her career?
I don't actually. Does anybody know Christopher, Sarah?
Yes, she's playing everywhere. She has a very, very big career in South Korea, and she's beginning to play absolutely everywhere. She's the only woman, a teenager, who has won the Geneva and the Busoni piano competitions. The only other person to have done that was Marta Argerich. And she is quite remarkable. And so with Mahal recital, I thought she'd be there practicing. No, she went to Regent Street. She wanted to look at the shops. She has this natural talent. She comes from a very, very poor family. She didn't have a piano in her house. She had to go and practice on the nun's piano. And she didn't want us to mention that particularly, but I think it's enormous a thing for us to know that someone from such a poor background could become, her artistry could become so apparent, and that she could be helped to share her artistry with a world that her parents probably didn't know existed, and it's very moving. And I hope she's going to have the very big career that she deserves.
Elena, we have a few more minutes. We always try to keep this to an hour. We want to be famous for keeping things under rein, which is not easy when you invite Christopher Axworthy.
How do you spell rain, by the way?
R-E-I-N.
Well, there's been a lot of the other stuff in England, I hear, which we don't have here in Italy at the moment, unfortunately.
We did. You notice the Queen didn't show up. Believe me, we invited her, and
Really? Oh, well, that's amazing. Yeah, she's everywhere. She's amazing. I mean, she is the most amazing person. She's absolutely everywhere. So I'm surprised she hasn't turned up for you, Bernard. We'll have to have a word with her on the quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Elena, can you wrap things up for us? I guess we've covered just about everything, but it's great to see you. I miss hanging out with you and Chris. And actually, Chris, you and I have not hung out in London. We have not been drinking in London, which is
I went to your concert, which was wonderful.
Oh, that's right. And then you skipped out.
And now Sasha Grinyuk is getting married in that same church where you gave a concert. On the 11th of July, he's getting married. You see, and I still remember that concert. It was absolutely wonderful, wonderful.
But you know what was insulting was you left my concert to go hear Leslie Howard's concert.
Well, you finished your concert. And so there we were. Yeah, but we went because we had to, because there are the three of us. We had to go, and I enjoyed his concert, of course. But I really I wasn't expecting a concert as so amusing and such wonderful wonderful piano playing too, Bernard. Come on.
Oh, and that, yeah, aside from being entertaining.
Yeah, you're a real artist,
all right, thank you. The beer I promised him is really paying off there. So Elena, wrap it up for us, and we'll see everybody off.
Well, thank you very much for having us today. It's wonderful to talk to you and to shed light a little bit on the workings of the trust. I think I must mention that we have some exciting developments in the trust. One of them is a wonderful book that John Leach and Christopher have written together about the trust.
Very little me.
And it's really a literary gem, beautifully written, very poetic, I have to say. I've read some of it, and so that hopefully will be published relatively soon, in the next year or so, partly to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the trust. And another wonderful development is the new website that Sarah has been working tirelessly together with Richard Thomas, which is looking absolutely beautiful. So check that out. That's going to come on soon, within the next month or so. If you would like to be included in the information about on the mailing list about our podcasts and our live streams and recorded streams, please let us know. Sarah is right here. And what else can I say? Yes, another thing that I haven't mentioned, actually, I don't know if it's a great thing to mention right now at the very end, but the Keyboard Trust has been very lucky to receive financial support from individuals, living individuals and not so living individuals, who have very kindly left their legacies to us. And one of those legacies have been benefiting by now, well, 2 already benefiting and will be benefiting 3 from September, young musicians, young pianists who, and 1 organist, and who are studying in the US, in the Curtis Institute and in Juilliard, and also the organist will be studying in Oxford, I think, or Cambridge. So yes, we're very lucky to be helping young musicians in that way as well. So as ever, we're very, very grateful to be talking to you, to spread the word about the trust, and to see so many wonderful people interested, and to share the music of our fantastic young artists who are very much in need of that exposure and that care that you're providing with. Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Whoops. Thank you, Elena. I wanted to mention, I believe we have Elizabeth Santucci here with us, who is a member of the Arts Club. Do I have that right, Elizabeth?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, and I know you were having some trouble with connections. I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I had to leave for a while.
Okay, very good. Well, it's great to see you, and I hope to see you. Do you get to the club at all these days?
Well, not very much, but right now I happen to have a bad case of bronchitis, so I'm not doing much.
Well, I think
I enjoyed today's. I enjoyed today's.
They allow people with bronchitis in the place. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
So,
well,
okay.
I hope to join the jazz group sometime.
All right, Elizabeth, thanks for checking in, and I hope to see you before long.
Really enjoyed
Brendel,
it.
thank you for stopping in. Sarah, Vera, Christopher.
Thank you very much.
Harold, Mr. Purkis.
Thank you.
And the other gentleman whom I have not met, who has the alias of GAC41. So thanks for stopping in. And Elena, God bless you. I hope we all get together for a pint before too long, all right?
Yes, look forward to that.
Okay, bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Oh,
you, Bernadette. Thank you.
one thing. We have Miho Azama coming up next. Don't miss Miho, and that's only a week from tonight. So she's normally in Copenhagen, but she'll be from New York on Monday, and she's a remarkable artist who came to New York to study jazz arranging and wound up becoming a huge star, and worked with the New York Jazz Harmonic, New York City Ballet, and is now the chief conductor and arranger for the Denmark Radio Orchestra, in addition to other things. So anyway, thank you, everybody. See y'all later. Bye-bye, Elena.
Bye.
Thank you.
Enjoyed
Bye.
it. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
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 Goodbye, everyone. Leave.